Summer 2014, me and Parker decided to take a camping trip up to Colorado, the upper Rio Grande territory, because a few years prior, we fished this stretch of river and just caught browns and rainbows. It was so good. It was productive. And we wanted to go back because Parker had a Young Life trip in that area. And I'll let you take it from here and what you saw, Parker.
And also, while we were in that area, when Evan and I went there, we caught the rainbows we caught were very wild, and they were the most colorful rainbows we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Except for the rainbows that we caught in the future in Canada, which were wild and native in their native territory. But while I was in this area on a Young Life backpacking trip, I saw a cutthroat trout just hitting the top of the water like I've never seen before. I think I just sat near a river for about 10 minutes and saw about 100 cutthroat trout hit the top of the water. And some were hitting the top of the water multiple times, but there was probably at least 40 cutthroat trout in just like a 100-foot stretch of river in the upper reaches of Ute Creek, which feeds into the headwaters of the Rio Grande. So Evan and I thought we should go make a whole week trip of going to this area.
Yeah, so that's the reason why. So the first place we wanted to go to was Wolf Creek because we fished it before, and they have native Colorado River Cutthroat Trout. And so we got there late at night. We left Lubbock on Saturday, just drove the whole way, but got there and we just fished. We camped, actually. We set up camp right next to the water, and it was real rocky, so it was late at night and we couldn't get our stakes in the ground, but we did a makeshift version of getting our tent set up and got it just barely where we had enough stakes in the ground to keep the tents up. But it was cold. We got to go to sleep in our 20-degree sleeping bags, and we slept. And story to be continued here in a little bit. Okay, so the next morning, we woke up and man, it was cold. Below freezing, hands were just cold, numb. Just trying to, it was hard to get out of our sleeping bags, those 20-degree sleeping bags.
And we were both in one-person tents, and the condensation on the outside of tents was out of control, where if you touched the side of the tent just at all, it was just water cascading all over you.
Yeah, even if you just breathe, water would cascade all over you. Even if it didn't rain, there was condensation. Worst
We have since upgraded our tents.
Yeah, now we use Alps Mountaineering tents.
Great brand.
Can't go wrong with those. But it was so cold, so we did what anybody in our situation would do, and we fired up the Jeep and put on the heater in the car. And we ate all we had for breakfast. Well, the thing we reached first was a bag of Santita's chips.
We got it at the grocery store the day before because it said big on the back, $2 only.
Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. We ate the whole bag, and we listened to the Arkells album.
It was actually $1.79. They were cutting themselves short.
But man, once it warmed up, we decided to take the Jeep on a 4-wheel drive expedition, one of its first of its kind, and drove on the trail and came across kind of like a marshy area, parked there and saw a mountain. And it was called Treasure Mountain, we found out later on Google Maps.
But at the time, it just looked like an easy trek uphill to the top of a little peak. And we viewed it as an opportunity to stay warm while the sun was still rising.
Yeah, so it looked like it would be easy, but once we started going up it, we realized that it was steep and it was rocky and there was rock slides to deal with, rough terrain. But once we got to the top, good photo opportunities for sure.
Yeah, not the first time we made the mistake of thinking something was going to be really easy and then it being really hard, but it always creates a good story.
Yeah, we've done this a few times. So we made it to the top. We made it back down. It's actually harder to make it down than it is to go up sometimes. So once we got back to the Jeep, drove back, and it was time to fish. And so these trout in this river are Colorado River Cutthroat Trout. And we think they're pure. Pure strain Colorado River Cutthroat Trout. So colorful, so pretty.
A nice treat to still have pure Colorado River Cutthroat Trout within reach, and they are pure to this day in 2016.
What's cool about the Wolf Creek upper reaches is that it's kind of this black rock, and there's all these little mini runnels through it, and you can cast your dry fly at the top of the runnel and then just let it drift. And then somewhere along that deep portion, everywhere else it's like 3 inches deep, but somewhere in that portion, a trout's just going to pop up at it and pounce on that fly, and then you're hooked. So not big fish in this area, but we each caught at least 12 inchers.
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
And there's a lot of waterfalls. There's good places to just you have to climb out of this canyon too.
Mm-hmm. It's close to the highway, but it's not easy to get to the creek.
That's true. And also, these trout are protected, we think, because of a massive 100-foot waterfall.
Followed by another massive waterfall.
Yeah, so it keeps the rainbow trout from going up there and hybridizing with the native cutthroats.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was a great day.
It was good. We got pictures.